Okay, cool. That wasn't too painful. Hey, everybody, I'm back. Okay, just in case it happens again, I don't know what's wrong with XSplit. I'm going to go ahead and I just got it sharing my desktop already. So, our topic today is going to be dynamic list filtering, and I put a link to it in the chat. So, dynamic list filtering is basically we have connected web parts back. So, we have the ability to, and I'm sharing my screen here. So, I'll just show you the final product first, and then I'll show you how to do it. So I have a list of customers down the left side and a list of projects, and then I'll go pick a customer, and then that filters the list of projects by just the projects for that customer. All right, so that's the end product. it's pretty simple, but I'll go ahead and show you kind of what is involved here. So I have a SharePoint list called customers, and this is my demo site. This is where I do all my demos, and I've had this list, for probably 5 years of these customers. So this is just a generic list of customers, and I have a view called active in here, and my active view is just filtered to show customers with a status of active, and it's just showing one column, the customer name. And then I have a list of projects, and my list, and this is a pretty common scenario, right, Joelle, for when we used to be able to use connected web parts, right?
Yeah.
Customers and projects. So in classic SharePoint, just a little rewind, in classic SharePoint, we used to be able to have connected web parts, and we had all these different types of things that we can do with connected web parts. So this interface that they've provided in the modern interface is not the same at all. It's completely different, but they're getting there. They're getting closer. So this is giving us at least, it's closer to what all the different options we used to have for all those different types of connected web parts and different, oh my gosh, I don't even remember that. What was the category of web parts called, Joelle? Of like the query string filter.
Filter web parts, I believe.
It was the filter web parts, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to love those things. Okay.
Oh yeah. Query string is my favorite.
Okay, so here is my list of projects. So I'm going to delete these little test projects here. Get them out of the way. And my list of projects has, I'll just show you what a new project form looks like, and this is customized in InfoPath. That is what a project form looks like. And then the important part right here is that there is a lookup field. So when you create a new project, you can tell it which customer that project goes with. So let's go look at the list settings. Okay, so here's the important part. I have, where'd it go? Where's my customer lookup? Yeah, oh, yeah, right there. Customer lookup. I don't know how well you can see it. How is that clear enough on the screen, Joelle, as to what those all say?
I may not have caught up with you yet.
Oh, okay. All right, so here's my customer lookup field. And hey, everybody, by the way, we have a Slack channel that we use if this is your first time joining us. I kind of didn't do my typical intro because of XSplit breaking, but we have a Slack channel where we have a discussion going on and questions and just the whole time. That's the fun part about having a live show. So here's my customer lookup, and it is a column in my projects list, and it is showing the customer name from the customers list. So the customer name is the column that is being displayed when you're doing the drop down and pick your customer. And then I also have, it says you can add a column to show each additional field. So you can add other fields from the customer list. Not sure how necessary that is, but I'm sure I was trying something out when I did that. All right, so then that's the project list. I also have a timesheet list. And when I'm filling out a timesheet, whoo, that is ugly. I got some good LSU colors going there, right? So in my timesheet list, here is what I have. I have a lookup here too. So in my timesheet, when I'm filling out my timesheet entries, it looks up to a project from the project list. All right, so it's kind of three different things. It's kind of cascading down from customers to projects to timesheet. So let's go do a new page. I'll just go back to my home page and then I'll go ahead and I already created a page with the connected web parts, but I'll just do a brand new one from scratch so you can see how it works. So I'll do a new page. And I'll just make that plain so I've got plenty of real estate. I'll delete this little default text web part it puts on here. And here's where I want to start. I will add a list web part. Now, if you can still have this cascading drop-down concept and the filtered web parts concept with libraries. Libraries can also have lookups in them. These, in my example, these just happen to be lists. So I'm going to start with a list web part because my customers is a list of customers. Someone asked, does this transfer and work the same way in a Power App after setting up the list? I was actually going to do this in a Power App next because there's no way this one little thing is going to fill up a whole hour. So I was going to show you how to do it in Power Apps. Okay, so I've got my customers list and it's asking me which view I want to show. I don't want to show the all items view because I kind of want to save some real estate. I want to give it some room so that I can put just the projects next to it. So I can put the two web parts next to each other. So I'll just, remember I showed you I had that view that I had created in the customers list just called active. So I'll just go ahead and apply that so that it's only showing my active customers and it's nice and skinny here down the left side. So I'll have room to put the other one. Okay, so then I'll I'll close this panel and go to my section. And this section is sort of the layout of where you want to put your web parts. So I'll do with a 1/3 left section layout, and I can even change the background of it a little bit. See, I can make it look purple. I'll just do dark purple. And then I'll go ahead and we close this. And remember, my resolution, when I share my screen during Power Hour, my resolution is very large so you can see everything. But it doesn't look this awkward when you have just a normal resolution. So now I add my second web part. And this is also a list. This is the list of projects. And I'll go to projects, pick my list. And if you pick the library web part, it would prompt you with a list of libraries to pick. And then I have my list of projects. And go to the projects web part settings. And this is the important part. So when I'm on my customers web part settings, I don't need to use dynamic filtering on the customers because the customer is what I'm going to filter by. But I am filtering the projects list, so that's the one that needs to have dynamic filtering. So when I turn dynamic filtering on, here's the meat of what we're doing in Power Hour here, this is where I get to pick which column I'm filtering by. So I'm filtering by my customer lookup. That's that lookup field. And then list or library containing the filter value. So that's going to be, it's going to ask me which other list basically is sending this information to this web part. That's going to be customers. And then which column in my projects to filter did I do? Obviously I've done this. I did this on the other screen and now it's being weird. If not, if this just doesn't like me, I'll just go back to the other screen I literally just did 10 minutes ago. Customer lookup, and then customers apply. Okay. And then let me go try that out. So I'll save this as draft because it's very, very awkward. It's all very awkward on the screen anyway. Now, so what I notice is if you click a customer like this, if you click the name of a customer, it takes you to the whole customer. And this is how connected web parts worked before too. So remember how awkward it was before with other, with just the classic view with clicking on something with a connected web part. You had to click on the little double arrow thing. So this is just as awkward. So I'm going to do my little go back to the page I was on. And unfortunately, you have to click this little checkbox. And also, unfortunately, it lets you click more than one. Now it looks like it's not filtering it, so let me go look at my filter and see what I did wrong. I'll go edit my page. I could tell something was off because it didn't prompt me for which column to send the data from. Okay, here we go. See, now it's got 3 options here. See, a minute ago when I was in here editing it, it didn't have another option down below here. So this is what I need. So this is a bug because I think this happened the first time I tried it too. I just thought it was me. So you have to set this and pick that it's going to be a dynamic filter and apply it and then save the page and then go back. And then this third choice will be here. Hopefully it'll probably be fixed, pretty soon. Okay, now this is where I need to pick which field in this customer list is sending the value to the projects list. I tried ID first because that was just my first inclination, was because I know how lookup fields store the ID and the name in there. So ID didn't work, so customer name. Now remember when I created the lookup field in the projects list, customer name was what I picked that I wanted it to display whenever that customer was selected. So customer name is what I'm using. Okay, so now I've applied my changes. I'll save it. Let's go try this again. Okay, so now I'm just a normal person looking at the page, and I have to check the box next to IW Mentor. But if I check the box next to another one, it can't do 2 of them. Someone was asking if it was multi-select, would it still support dynamic filtering? We can try that and see. Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much the gist of it, is that you have to lay out these web parts. It looks kind of nice having that little background color on the section, because if not, it's just one big white blob and it's kind of ugly and messy and not the most intuitive. But at least it looks nicer with a background color on the section. So yeah, so I have to uncheck the previous one and then check another one, because it's never going to show me, if I keep checking them, it's never going to show me all of them at the same time. It's just going to show the most recent one that I checked. So yeah, and then your users have to know to only use the checkbox and not to click on something too. So let's go try one more thing. So I'm going to go into my I'm going to go to my customer list, and I'm going to go to my active column, and I can see that I've got my customer name that's got the link on it. I'm going to go edit this view, and there's another column. See, this one says customer name linked to item with edit menu. I'm going to show the one that's got just customer name that's not linked to anything. See, it's just going to be the words, the name of the customer. So I'll go ahead and save that. Now I shouldn't have to edit the web part again, since all I did was just change the view, and that view is what the web part is pointing to. So let me go back to my my page, refresh it just in case. Okay, so now I've got, okay, so see, this is going to be less confusing for people, right? So if I can't click on the word and of the customer and have it accidentally take me to another screen. So that's good. So that's a good way to kind of improve your user interface by having less things that they could potentially click on and be confused. Okay, let's see if I can add a couple more web parts. I'll go add the timesheet. And I think I have another one in this little demo set of things that's a list of statements of work for customers. Okay, there's my timesheet. Now I'll go to my timesheet settings and go to dynamic filtering. Notice it's only got these 2 columns at first. So column in the timesheet to filter, that's going to be project. So I'm not going to be filtering the timesheet by customer. I have to pick a customer and then pick a project, and then it will show me those timesheet items for that project. So this is going to be projects. So then I have to click apply, and see that 3rd column doesn't appear down here. I'll just close this and just save it and go edit it again. And see, look, there's my 3rd option down there. Yay. It's right over here. Okay. Now, what column? I think it's project name. When I pick a project that goes with the timesheet, it's going to have the project name. All right. Now, let me save that and try it again. Well, these list items are so old, Joelle, looks like Shane created a bunch of them. That's from so many years ago. Okay. All right, I'm going to check Contoso, and then Contoso project. And look at that. So look, me and Billy Bob did a lot of good work on that Contoso project. And it even shows me what it's filtering in the little, I like the breadcrumb trail, don't you? What do you think? It's a really nice thing about that is it shows me what it's filtering by whenever I do it. So then if I change it to another one, then see, then it says projects IW Mentor. And then I'll see if this one has, yep, this one's got one timesheet entry down here, timesheet IW Mentor project. Yeah, Stuart, we all go way back. Shane and Joelle and I used to all work together. It's a long story. It goes back about 10 years. So, all right, let's see. So that's what you can do is you can just add all your web parts. Now, I've got this app. And it's my customers and projects app. And I've probably demoed this one before. Customers projects demo. I think that's it. Yeah, I thought you knew that, Stuart. He said he's known me for that long. Yeah. Valerie says Billy Bob is quite productive. How about Rogue? I think Rogue is laying around sleeping somewhere. Oh, the vet told her yesterday that she needs to lose a few pounds, by the way. So we need to get her off her rear end. Rogue is the dog, everyone, if you missed last week's episode. Okay. Customers. And I've got Contoso. And then there are my timesheet items. Doesn't that look so much nicer in a Power App than on those awkward web parts? So let's go whip up a Power App real quick to kind of do this kind of thing. And then you can just embed it on the SharePoint page, and then you can make it look exactly like you want to. So all these years that, since the classic connected web parts kind of went away, they're not available in modern, and people have been asking how to achieve it in modern, I usually just say use a Power App. So this is going to be what I meant by use a Power App. So I'll go just create a Power App. And we still got half an hour, so I'll just whip up a Power App real quick. Canvas app. Yeah, see, the Power App is much, and see, with the Power App, you have much more control over what they see, what they're clicking on, what it looks like, how much, space different things are taking up. And those web parts can kind of get really awkward with different screen resolutions, maybe, and different columns, like too many columns showing, and just maybe being confusing on a page for people. So I'm going to create a blank app tablet layout. Deborah says, I hope for the day when I can say, let's go whip up a Power App real quick and I won't be secretly laughing. I know. Real quick. It's going to be really ugly when you do it real quick, right? Okay, so I'll start with my...
It's easy when there's zero functionality.
Do what?
I said it's easy when there's zero functionality.
Yeah.
When it's just a wireframe.
Yeah. Okay, let's get that's my demo site that's got all this test customer stuff. Customers and projects and timesheet. I feel like I've done this demo before in a previous Power Hour. Who knows? I know I've used these same data sources for lots of stuff because it's just a common thing that people do in SharePoint and Power Apps. Okay, so I will slap a quick gallery on here. And I'm going to do blank vertical and just pick customers. And then I like to put blank vertical on here and then just change the layout to one of these other ones. So I'll just do title, subtitle, and body. And look, see, it just gives me my, it just guesses at some fields and puts them in here. So I can go change, let's see, like change it to something else. I've got a liaison, like a person that's associated with each project. So I'll just make it show the liaison. Okay, so there's my customers. And then I can also just squeeze my projects gallery in here too. Blank vertical. Stuart said, is Rackspace still around? I think it's still called Rackspace, but it got bought by another company. And then I've got, so these are my projects. And see how, again, it's just guessing at some fields. Project start, that's fine. All right. Okay, so now the trick is to filter the list of projects when I pick a customer. So this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So you have to, okay, so when you're using a lookup field, the lookup field is non-delegable. So I'm going to filter it by the lookup field. But what I usually like to do in the real world is when I'm creating this parent-child relationship, like the putting funny things in the Slack. It's awesome. Like the customers and projects, I usually also have an extra field, like in the projects list, that's a number field that I call it like customer ID. And I will also, as it's populating the lookup field to have, the project matching the customer with the lookup, I also put the ID of the customer in that extra ID field because of this kind of scenario. Because just in case you had hundreds of items over 500, it's a non-delegable filter. So I'm going to get the little blue squiggly error. So it's really only going to cause a problem if I had more than 500 projects here. So some people just might build it that way and it's fine. They're just doing something real quick or simple. But that's just for in the real world for projects that are bigger. That's for now, they're non-delegable. And you'll see what I mean by that. So filter projects where the customer lookup. See, you can see I had a field called customer ID. Customer lookup dot ID equals gallery. Oop, I gotta name my galleries. I gotta name this something useful. Gal customers. Okay. Gal customers dot selected dot ID. So I'm just picking whatever the two fields are, they have to exactly match each other. So now I don't have anything selected yet. Well, it's going to, by default, it's actually selecting that first one for me, I think. So Contoso. See, when I pick Contoso, now it's showing all the Contoso projects. IW Mentor, VentureWorks. So, yeah. Done. Isn't that beautiful? Now I could also do I could have it take you to another page like I did in that other app that I showed you where it actually navigates you to and I just have each gallery as a separate thing on each screen. So it takes you to another screen with the filtered gallery and it filters it for you. So it's up to you as to whether you want to, if they're bigger and they need more real estate, have them on separate screens or whatever you do. Oh, let me save this before I forget. Marie says, why doesn't the mouse change on an item to a finger to show it is clickable? Well, it does. So you have these buttons here. And the buttons, that's a great question. So when you have a gallery, you have an on select for the whole gallery. So I don't even have anything happening on select in this thing. But I also have a button in the gallery that's got, let me scroll up here to the first row. And the button is, since it's a button, the button is going to have like change, when you hover over it, because that's what button controls do. And it selects the parent. So whether I click just to select a certain row, just anywhere in the whole row in this gallery, it's going to select that item. And if I click to select this button, by default, it selects the parent, which is the whole row. So clicking the button and clicking the whole row do the same thing. It's just a lot, people need to feel like they're clicking a button. So what I'm doing over here is I'm filtering the gallery to just that whatever I happen to have clicked on in the customer's gallery. So I didn't even make the buttons or anything in the customer gallery do anything. So what you could do is you could do something extra like, say, give it one of those little, where is it? Transitions. Pop. So as I hover over things, they pop out like that. So that might give you a better, anyway. So that's what I'm doing. So let me go ahead and I'll add the timesheet out here and then I'll put it in SharePoint, because that was the whole point, was to show how you could do this in a Power App instead of with all the connected web parts. Yeah. Now, Marie, you could stick, an invisible button control on top of this whole thing, and that way it would change to a little hand or whatever, so you can tell that it's clickable. Or just provide people this little button so that they feel like they're clicking on a button, right? It's just psychological, because it doesn't matter where, and just by default with the way I did this, it doesn't matter where in the row you click. Okay, so a third gallery. Timesheet. And then give it some information too. Now the question is, what do I want to happen when somebody actually opens one of these? Do I want to be able to have somebody click to open one, click to open the project, or click to open the timesheet? Or are we just drilling down to filter things? So that would be, so remember last week when I was showing, in the Power App I was showing Power App conditional formatting, and I showed how you can I just put the form for the task itself just in front of the gallery. And so when you clicked on a task, the form just popped up right there. So we only had one screen, and it was just the form control popping up in front of whatever I clicked on. So you could do that in here too. I have what, about 20 minutes left, so maybe I'll have time to do that, but I'm not sure. But I just did it in last week's show. All right. Here, to see this item, that's the hours, and then that's the date. So I'll just let it use whatever fields, and you could add more in here. So I could say like who was it created by. There. So you can add any other fields you want to show and arrange the galleries however you want. And then I can make these different colors so that it kind of, you can tell them apart. There. They at least look slightly different now, even though they're still very ugly. You can't make a Power App look functional and pretty in a half an hour. All right, so go to my items property, and then I want to filter my timesheet where the project.id equals, and then that's, got to name my gallery something useful, gal projects. Gal projects dot selected dot ID. So if I was going to pick the project.name, I would need to do the selected.customer name, because whatever two fields I'm comparing, they have to match, just like in the connected web part. You just have to, the data that you're picking, just that you're decided to, do the matching on, the data has to match in it. Okay. So now there are let's try that again. Contoso. Here are my Contoso projects, and then it defaulted to just show the timesheet for the first thing in the list. So I'm gonna go change this. So now it's showing timesheet for all those. Now I will take this thing and save it and publish it, and stick it in SharePoint as a replacement for having to do connected web parts. Because I don't know if the end users are, it's up to your user base if they're going to be savvy enough to know how to do the thing with the connected web parts and click the little circle. What do you think, Joelle?
Yeah, I mean, I think there might be a little bit of, just training and stuff like that.
Training involved, yeah.
Yeah. At least an icebreaker introduction kind of thing.
Yeah. Of course, we have one in our tenant, Joelle, right? That an old one that I created a couple years ago that's a connected web part dashboard page. And
yeah,
I feel like every time we go in there, we forget that you have to click the little double arrow.
Yeah. It's not super obvious.
No, it's not. All right. Okay, customers, projects, app. Plain. And then, another thing that you can do, not that one, in here is in the settings, you have a setting to optimize embedding experience. That is in Power Apps, so I'll do that too. Save. And I need my details. I need my app ID because I'm going to embed it in a Power Apps web part. And again, with my resolution, it might be a little large on here. And then I just paste that ID in here. And I decide whether I want to show the border of the web part. I just note, Joelle and I just noticed today, have you all noticed this in your tenant, that you don't have an option when you create a new page or you click promote, they took away the option to add it to the navigation. I wonder if that was causing problems, if everybody was just adding everything to the navigation. And
Yeah, I kind of wondered maybe if it was just something to do with, people that are using like mega menus and really like putting a lot of work into their navigation. Maybe it was just causing users to disrupt that somehow or something.
Yeah. Okay. I also had a send by email. I had a Power App one time that was a form on a page like this embedded, and people would fill out the form and then they would click up here. They would click send by email instead of clicking submit on the form. Yeah. We had all these people clicking send by email and then typing the lady's name, who's the one that usually does the intake for the forms. And she was getting all these, people were sending her these links to this web page in email, and she was getting multiple ones a day, like everybody was doing this. So I was like, why do they keep sending her the link to this SharePoint page? And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're filling out the form. And then instead of clicking submit at the bottom of the form, they're just clicking this. You can't get rid of this though. So you know what I did is I just didn't embed the app in a SharePoint page. And I just, when they click to go to that app, instead of having it in a page, I just took them straight to just that link, that web link to the app, so that it was in a new tab and it was all by itself and nobody was going to get confused. Has anybody else come across that? It was, apparently that was just for people who hadn't, no training or anything. You're just here, go here and fill out this form. That is the most obvious thing to them, was to click send by email instead of the submit button that was on the form. So, I mean, you're giving them too many buttons, too many choices to choose from when it's embedded in a page like this, I guess. So here is my app now embedded in a page. And see, I'm just clicking through all my little projects and stuff. And then the next step would be to build either just build the little form, whatever they click on, to pop up right here in front, or just take them to another screen in the Power App. But as you can see in this Power App, I have a lot more control over what they see, but it's really, really fast and easy to just put the connected web parts on the page, and doing a Power App could take you a few hours. So, it's, I don't know, what do y'all think? Valerie says she's had people edit the page to make changes to comments. I guess don't give so many people the ability to edit pages too. That's one thing that I started doing, was when I give people a new site, I just go to the pages library and break off permission inheritance and just give everyone except owners read on the pages library, because of stuff like that, with people just who shouldn't be editing the web pages, editing them. So we try to think about our UI when we're doing things like this, and think about what people are going to possibly click on or accidentally click on or possibly not understand. So yeah. So in this scenario, there with customers and projects, there are a few different things you could do. I mean, you can have just a whole bunch of data on here that people can see for them to read everything they need to know about the project, or and give them a little edit button if they want to open it up and start working on it. So Zach says the Curious George users. Well, so many people are new to Office 365 and SharePoint and Power Apps lately, especially with everyone like jumping and running to the cloud. You just have so many new people that you don't have like, we have this sort of old school set of people who've been using SharePoint for 15 years who just know how to do things in SharePoint and how SharePoint works. Well, you have tons of new people now, and they're just clicking on stuff, right? That they don't know what any of this is. So you just kind of have to think, especially if your organization, if you have, if you're newer to Office 365 and you're implementing something like this, you got to really think about anything they could possibly click on the screen. So, oh yeah, that makes sense, Valerie. What else? What am I missing, Joelle? That kind of wraps it up. We can talk about Dataflex for a minute. Let me see. Because I think that's one of the huge new things that...
Yeah, I may have looked away for a customer email, but I think Lisa asked if it's supposed to get around the non-delegable issue. I don't know if you had answered that or not. She asked about Dataflex.
Well, Dataflex is using a completely different data source. It's using CDS. And I think CDS just has different types of columns that are delegable and non-delegable. So I'm not sure off the top of my head which ones they are.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's a web page somewhere, Lisa, that has a chart, and it's got SQL and CDS and SharePoint, and it's got a chart of all, it's like different types of columns, and it shows you which columns are not, which column types are non-delegable. And in SharePoint, they've narrowed it down, and they've fixed a lot of them. So the only ones really that are non-delegable now are going to be dates and those lookups. So, but the biggest negative I see so far to Dataflex and what it gives you is that search is not part of Dataflex. So I guess in a Power App you wouldn't be able to use the search function. I don't know. It just said it had a chart in, I don't know, one of these web pages that I saw describing it, that said that it described what was in Dataflex versus Dataflex Pro, and Dataflex Pro is just the CDS that we know, Common Data Service. And what the main thing that jumped out at me that the Pro version has that the regular version doesn't have was search. And it had a lot of other different things that are basically settings and functionalities that I've never used before that didn't seem like they would be a big deal to not have, but so I'm not sure. All right. So Andy, Dataflex is this, I'll put a link here in the chat. I'll put it in the general channel there. Dataflex, Microsoft just announced last week. It is basically going to give you the ability to create Power Apps inside of Teams. So you can see this little video in their webpage. It shows you you're in Teams, because so many people are going to Teams now. Teams is the big new thing, right? Or it has been for a year or two. And you're creating tables. So in CDS, they were called entities, and now they're called tables again. You're creating tables just like you would have created tables in Microsoft Access, like you create lists in SharePoint. So you're doing all this right inside of Teams. So you're creating tables, and that's going to be where your data is stored. And then you're creating your Power App and your flows, and you're doing it all staying inside of Teams. And then people can fill out their forms, work in their Power Apps, and you can share Power Apps and with other teams and give them to people or something. But what it's doing behind the scenes apparently is it's getting its own little environment in that team. So it's just showing you an example of building a Power App right there inside of Teams, and using. Dataflex is the back-end data that it's got. Any other questions about that? XML to PDF conversion. What? So what are you talking about with XML to PDF conversion? Oh, well, okay. I'm not sure. All right. I'm missing some conversation about something. Since Teams is easy to use with external users, will the Dataflex Power Apps be available for our external users who are also part of our teams? I do not know. Not sure. Lisa says, can you turn this off at the tenant level? You have Cowboy users that are going to make a mess with this. Yay, Cowboy users. That's what we're counting on, right? We want a lot of people just jumping to this and clicking create an app all over the place, right? That's the goal. I don't know, Lisa, if you can turn it. That's, as us admins, that's the first thing you think of when a new feature comes out, right? Is how can you turn it off? So that's what Lisa's asking. How can you turn this off? I'm not sure. I don't know. A lot of the times they roll out something really cool and then it's just open and anybody can do it. And then they get all the admins screaming at them and they're like, okay, we added a PowerShell command or something to let you all turn it off. But this is, quote, I'm not going to use the word free, but Dataflex is free because it's not the extra cost that CDS or Dataflex Pro is. So Dataflex Pro is when you'd be paying that extra money that you pay. I'm not a licensing person. The extra money that you pay for CDS, but this Dataflex is this like light version of CDS, so it is not extra money. So notice that I said it is free. I didn't say it is free. I just said it is not extra money because I have no idea what your licensing is. But that's kind of why they introduced it, because they have so many people wanting to just create quick little apps like this, and CDS has become very robust over the years, but sometimes you just need just simple, right, for business users. So I think this is catering towards the simple. Andy says she's trying to figure out a way to convert XML files in SharePoint to a PDF. I don't know. I think there are a couple of, maybe there's a third, no, I don't know. I'm not sure. Converting XML. Seems like that would require dev work or some kind of third-party product. Valerie says, I have no one in my organization who will use this. All right, let me flip back over to... Oh, it still has my pre-show. There we go. All right. So that was fun. Eric says, can a lookup be a multi-select field? I am not sure. So I didn't quite get to that, but yeah, it's really easy. Just go ahead and try it out real quick. Just whip up a couple of lists and slap them on a web part page. Well, not a web part page, a page. Slap them on a page and give it a whirl. All right.